Hello, hello, hello. And, welcome to another episode of, Free Talk Friday. Yahoo! So, without further ado, how has your week been? I'll get started with, I'll go and get started with myself before, I hear all your messages come up and stuff. So I'm just gonna go and, start from here, if that makes sense. Yeah. So, I guess this week was okay, all things considered. Nothing, it's nothing really out of the ordinary, but I just kind of, I was having a few, anxious parts, I guess, and I guess it's also being a little bogged down with work since we're getting close to finals now. Like, I start finals, I think I start finals in the beginning of May, so yeah, we're starting to gear up for those. So I'm kind of preparing myself for that and what will kind of come from that. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm gearing up for right now, kind of that, and also just kind of working on a bunch of side projects too, mainly just like the the winner of my giveaway. I'm currently working on her piece for that, and I'm going to be coloring that in tomorrow, so I really look forward to doing that. And then it's also just kind of thinking about what I want to do next week, thinking about what I want to do in future for this channel, like potential future content, that sort of thing. It's just been a lot of thinking and exploring and kind of, just evaluating where I'm currently at creatively, career-wise. Yeah, that's basically it. Yeah. Yankee. Friendship with the Fate series over. Now Melty Blood is my best friend. That's my week in a nutshell. Wait, was there like another Melty Blood, was there another Melty Blood announcement that I didn't know of? Because the last I heard of it, there was like the remake of the first game that was announced, there's the remake of the game that was announced last week, like last Friday and stuff. What's the new news? Can you tell me? I'd be like super hyped to know about that. The Fate, when it comes to Nasuverse, the Fate series is kind of, where I lie. Like, I'm not as familiar with, say, Kara no Kyokai, DDD, or Tsuki no Sango, or hell, Tsukihime, any of those things. But, I'd be interested in getting into them since I really love, the Fate series a lot. And I want to see what other things Nasu has to offer as well. Yeah. Oh, no, I just really got into Melty this week. Oh, okay. Wait, which Melty Blood are you playing by any chance? Which one? Cause, I've been considering maybe playing it. Maybe. Oh, actress again. Right. Okay, I might give this I might give it a look then. I might give it a look, cuz well, actually, before I get into Melty, I might as well just try Tsukihime too, cuz Tsukihime is, a lot shorter than Fate's Day Night, so I think I could get through it. I think I can get through it fairly easily. Yeah. I hear it's a lot, rougher around the edges than Fate is, particularly because it's more of a doujin work than Fate was, since Fate was more of a company effort. So, I'd be interested to kind of jump in production quality from Tsukihime to the production quality that Fate has now. Yeah. It's a fun, stupid, broken game. I don't recommend the Steam version, though. There's other means. I see how it is. I understand completely. But no, it is kind of, you know, in its own way, it is kind of fun to play, like, just a game that is very overpowered and, you know, overpowered and fun like that. Sometimes you just want to beat the stuffing out of something and, you know, have that feeling of power, that feeling of superiority in it, really. And it's that's kind of fun in its own way. That's kind of fun in its own way, yeah. In a weird sense, I get that feeling from whenever I, you know, pick up my 3DS and I play Style Savvy Fashion Forever. Like, I know this is, like, a weird comparison to be making to, like, a indie fighting game and stuff, but hear me out. I'm gonna explain. So, Style Savvy Fashion Forward is, as the title implies, it's a fashion game where you, like, dress up characters and, stuff like that, and you conduct catwalks and whatnot. But the real reason it gives me, like, a huge power trip and stuff is that after a certain point, you kind of finish the main story of the game. And so basically after that point, you kind of can do whatever the hell you want, because you got so much money by that point that you can just literally, you can just power trip. You can, like, buy out entire stores and, like, the in-game mall and stuff. And yeah, no, it's a similar feeling of, like, I have complete power and dominion over anything. You can't stop me or my creativity anymore. Yeah. Actually, you know, even so, I'd still recommend Style Savvy Fashion Forward a lot. You know, if you need a good kind of, if you need a good game to just, like, turn off your brain and just, like, you know, dress up characters or do their hair or makeup or whatever, I highly recommend it. I've been meaning to check out the sequel too, because the sequel looks pretty good as well, and they have a bunch of other stuff too. Like, I think you can customize the male characters as well as the female characters in the game, which, you know, has me intrigued. I think male characters deserve to be dressed up too. It's equality. Yeah, it's equality. Let me think. What else? But yeah. So yeah, there were a lot of big announcements today. I kind of woke up at like 6 this morning to catch all those, announcements today, just like various live streams and stuff. Like, let me try and remember what exactly was, you know, announced off of the top of my head. So there was a new FGO arcade stream that I went and watched and stuff, and that's where they announced, oh, hey, we're rebalancing the game a bit, and you know, we're including characters from the Lord El Malloy case files as well, which is nice to see, although it wasn't the Mother Harlot announcement I was looking for. But, you know, I guess it's fair. I guess they need to kind of put a little bit of breathing space in between, you know, story singularities and arcades. So, you know, give me a little breathing space before June comes and wallops me in the head with a bunch of fate feels. Yeah. Other announcements. What else? There's the new, Vivnos animation. There's a new Vivnos animation. I don't know if you've seen their animations around on YouTube, but they did, like, the, warning sign playlist, which is, like, a playlist of their like, horror-themed animations. I really love that playlist. It's wildly creative, and, you know, I really would love to do stuff in the vein of that someday. But the newest video they premiered today, Jordan River. Jordan River was really good. Really, really good. Like, I think this was the first of the warning sign playlist where they used a team of animators and artists to produce it rather than them just doing all the animation themselves. Like, what they've done on their own is already very, very impressive. Like Magical Girl, Ruru, Suki Suki Daisuki, and stuff like that, My September. Those are all really good. But you can really tell there's a big jump in animation quality with Jordan River. Like, there's this scene where the protagonist and the blonde-haired girl are, like, you know, reminiscing, or like their past is shown or something like that in the video, and it's just really gorgeously animated and composited. Like, it's such a cut above the other ones, even though the other ones are also really good. It just makes me really optimistic for the future of this series. I really love the warning sign playlist. It's so good. Yeah. If you're a horror lightweight, like, don't get me wrong, I'm a horror lightweight too. I think you can, even if you're a horror lightweight, I think you can stomach, like, most of them. I think you can stomach, most of the warning sign playlist. I think the only one that's, like, seriously scary, the only one that has, like, a jump scare or anything like that is, I think it's the penultimate one. It's the one between the, talking about the love story between a, brown-haired girl and a, blonde-haired girl, and it has, like, a icon of, them running together happily. Most of it is just, like, kind of sad and tragic, but there's one moment where, like, the music slows down and, like, it caught me by surprise the first time I saw it. But the others should be watchable. And they're more just about atmospheric horror rather than, jump scares or anything like that, which is my preferable kind of horror, honestly. Yeah. So I think that even if you're kind of sensitive to horror, I'd still, recommend giving them a look, because artistically they're very well done, and I really love Viv Noss's artwork anyways, regardless of whether it's cute or horrific or whatever. They do just such a good job with their artwork. I love them so much. Oh right, you reminded me of the third announcement that happened today. So the new Milgram song came out. The new Milgram character song came out. Mahiru's song. And it's really good. Like, it was kind of what it was kind of what I expected in terms of tone and stuff. But yeah, no, I think, it's compositionally, like, visually very different from the other music videos of the Milgram project. I think Mahiru's a really interesting character, being, like, the youngest member of the cast, and kind of, there's kind of undercurrents of her potentially, being a child star, or her potentially being brainwashed by something like that. I don't know, it's still early on in the Milgram project, but, if you like Deco 27's work and you've been following the Milgram project for a bit, I definitely recommend giving it a look, because the tune's also very catchy too. Yeah, I like it. I like it a lot. It's very good. Yeah. It's a very, it's a very interesting contrast too to the previous music video, which I think concentrated on, Shido, I think? I'm not sure. He's, like, the oldest man character in the series, and, the previous music video is kind of very lamenting and sad and very, it's very, it's very bittersweet, that sort of thing, whereas Mahiru's song seems, like, very optimistic and cute and, child-friendly on the surface, but then kind of the more you kind of dig under it and stuff, the more sinister it becomes. Yeah. So I think that they're kind of interesting contrasts with each other. Yeah, the oldest cast member and the youngest cast member. Yeah. Oh yeah, on the topic of horror, my friend and me did a podcast on Friday the 13th, specifically Jason X. Oh yeah, no, I've heard a little bit about the Friday the 13th movie franchise and stuff. Like, Jason Voorhees is quite a interesting antagonist from what I've heard. I haven't watched the movies myself because, I have I have a limit when it comes to horror and stuff, but I do find him quite a interesting quite an interesting antagonist, particularly given his backstory and stuff. I'm sorry if I can't say any more on that. That's the most I know about the Friday the 13th franchise, really. Yeah. Although, actually, speaking of, like, horror movies and stuff like that, you reminded me of one of my favorite horror movies ever. I don't know if this counts as horror or not, but given it's kind of a G-rated, PG-rated film, but Coraline. Coraline is one of my favorite films ever, and it's a really, and it's for a lot of reasons. The soundtrack is really pretty. I love the combination of stop motion and 3D animation. It's a really beautiful mixture of the two. I think Coraline is a really interesting protagonist, and I like kind of the atypical setting that she's placed. In, which is pretty cool. I also think that the Beldam, the other mother, is a really good antagonist as well, and I like the weird differences between Coraline's real world and the other world, which is kind of like, too perfect to be true, kind of. It unravels the more Coraline spends time with it, and the more impatient the beldam becomes. Man, such a great film, and, one of the few examples of PG-rated horror, too. Like, it's one of the few horror films you could see with your family without getting shouted at, really. And I think that's its strength. It manages to be scary, but not inaccessible to a family audience. That's I think, it's one of its greatest strengths. It's such a beautiful film. Yeah. If you haven't, I'll say that, even the, I'd say that, if you're interested in seeing Coraline, I'll say that most of it isn't super scary. Most of it is more about, like, atmospheric horror and stuff like that. But there are, like, a few moments that could definitely, when you think about it, make your skin crawl and stuff. Particularly, like, with the beldam and what she does to, like, the other members, or like when the world begins unraveling. It's good horror. It's really good horror. I will say that the one scene that does still scare me to this day is when Coraline is trying to run back to the real world after she's trying to run back to the crawl back to the real world through the tunnel after untangling the other mother's world and freeing her parents and the 3 lost children's souls and stuff. And she's trying to get out, and like the other mother's trying to get back to her, and the door's coming closer and closer, and she's screaming at her. She's like, "Don't you dare leave me! Come back to me, young Coraline! Come back! Come back!" And it's that bit actually does still scare me. It's really effective horror. Yeah. It's really good. Really good. Courage the Cowardly Dog is horror goat. Oh yeah, that too. No. I only watched a couple of episodes of Courage the Cowardly Dog, but, the more I look back on it, the more I realize, damn, I wish I had grown up with this show, because, it also has some really good horror writing. It has some really good horror writing and horror concepts as well, and I like the setting a lot as well. It's definitely one of the stronger early 2000s Cartoon Network shows. I like it a lot. It was very good. Terrifying, but also uplifting. Yeah. That's what all horror should aspire to be. Yeah. What I will say is that, like, a lot of Cartoon Network shows more recently have been including a lot of horror aspects to them. So, I quite like that as well. Like, take Steven Universe, for example. You look at, like, the forced fusion gems, like, the core, what was it called again? The giant ball of fusions at the core of the earth and stuff. That was pretty fucked. Yeah, like, when Steven and the others are drilling towards the, center of the earth, and they, like, see limbs, like, disembodied limbs, like, climbing on them and stuff. That was genuinely kind of creepy. Yeah. Or, some of the concepts in Adventure Time, like, the Lich. The Lich was, very horrifying concept as well. Like, the way he's animated is unsettling, pretty unsettling. Or let me think, what else? I guess from what I've heard anyways, Over the Garden Wall has shades of that as well. Yeah, I've been meaning to see Over the Garden Wall, actually. I've heard a lot of good things about that, like really beautiful animation and setting and stuff. It's apparently the perfect autumn time show, so it's on my watch list, as are many other shows. Yeah. Coraline is so scary because of its mystery. The movie never explaining what the beldam was such a pro move. I feel like that's true of the book too. Like, I don't know how many people, I actually don't know how many people know this, but Coraline was based off of a book by Neil Gaiman, a book by Neil Gaiman, and there's some differences between, like, the book version and the movie version and stuff, but they both never really explain what the beldam is, and I think that's for the better, honestly, because it just makes her a much scarier figure as a result. Just her as being this unexplained witch-like being that goes and eats the souls of children after luring them in with their, ideal life and stuff. Yeah. It's, yeah. I'd recommend, if you haven't read the book, I'd recommend it too, even if it's just for, like, seeing what the differences are between the book version and the movie version. Like, for instance, I think one big difference is that YB, the character in the movie, was not present in the book, because he was mainly added to the movie because Coraline in the book talked a lot to herself. She was like a very kind of solitary kid who kind of spoke aloud to herself, and so for things not to look as weird on the big screen and stuff, they added YB in as, you know, a movie original character, and I think he mostly worked. I think he worked pretty well in the film. There are other things too, like, you know, the mice not the circus mice not appearing like cute mice like they initially did in the movie, but kind of already being horrifying rats when they visit Coraline and stuff. And the beldam always looking horrifying instead of being like a perfect carbon copy of Coraline's real mother. Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of there's a lot of interesting differences between the two, but I think they're both worth looking at if you like. I guess, yeah. The illustrations are also really good too, so if you do get that, it's also worth checking out for the kind of very scary illustrations as well. Yeah. I saw the Lich King's speech on Twitter. Amazing writing and acting. Oh yeah, no doubt. I mean, I haven't watched Adventure Time in its fullest, but from what I have seen, the writing is very stellar, and I love how they take, I love how Pendleton Ward takes this initially very silly and random premise and then turns it into this kind of post-apocalyptic world setting that's kind of very sad and sad underneath all the kind of candy-colored stuff. Yeah, I think that's something he has a real strength in doing, because, you know, while I didn't see any of the episodes of Adventure Time, I did see his other show, his more adult show, the Midnight Gospel. And, you know, I think there's a lot of overlap between, you know, the Midnight Gospel and Adventure Time, kind of in the ways it's animated, the themes it addresses, and also just kind of the feeling it has in general. Like, the Midnight Gospel is also a show that's very bright and colorful, and it seems, you know, very kind of cute and accessible and stuff, but, you know, when you actually go into it, it delves into a lot of very philosophical and into a lot of philosophical themes, and there's a lot going on at once. It feels like, I guess the best way I could describe it is, it feels like reading a philosophical essay, like reading a think piece, but you're watching it as a 20-minute episode of a cartoon. And yeah, it's very much like a stream of consciousness, but a cartoon with a very thin overarching plot and stuff. And I think that's what makes it such an interesting, unique project. If you find yourself interested in watching the project, I think, you know, the best way to go about it was try out like the first episode and stuff. And if you don't find the way it's done to your fancy, then at the very least watch the very last episode, because I feel like even though there is like an overarching plot, it's so slight that like you can basically take every episode as an episodic, you know, as you can basically take every episode in an episodic way and stuff. So like the last episode is easily the best, and I'm not going to spoil why, but man, it's a hard-hitting one. I get very emotional when I think about it a lot. It's a very beautifully conveyed one. Yeah, I do recommend the Midnight Gospel a lot. Yeah. What else? Yes, my favorite show about non-binary rock people going through trauma. Hoseki no Kuni. Actually, that's another show I've been meaning to watch for a while. That's another one I've been meaning to watch for a while. Or even just like reading the manga too, because, you know, I mean, the show itself is really gorgeous. I love the opening. I think the ending with the animation by Yoko Kuno is really spectacular. And I think the show's use of 3D is really inspired and beautiful. I think it's a beautiful show on its own, but the manga is also really beautiful too. Like, I love Haruko Ichikawa's drawing style a lot, like how her use of tone throughout the manga, and her very stark uses of blacks and whites, as opposed to, you know, how many mangaka would use like a variety of midtones and stuff, is really gorgeous. Yeah. And I also hear that, Foss, the main character, they go through a very painful character arc as well. Like, it's like one of those negative character arcs where they start out like kind of wide-eyed and innocent, but they just continually get beaten down and down and down by their circumstances, and you just kind of, in a way, they just kind of get beaten down by their circumstances, and it's just very painful to watch. I guess since the manga seems to be coming to a close soon, I might wait until it finishes, and then I'll give it a read, because, it's been interesting me for a while, and I think Foss as a character really interests me in general. I think I would definitely love to try it out. I think it would interest me greatly, particularly because, like, a similar show with a similar sort of negative plot arc, a negative story arc, Devilman Crybaby, is one I can't really stop thinking about, even though I'd be hard-pressed to say it's my favorite show ever. Actually, let me talk about Devilman Crybaby for a bit. That show was, like, really, really popular, like, 3 years ago. It's hard to believe, actually, that the show came out 3 years ago or something like that. It feels like it came out last year. But, I think it's, in a way, like, I find it almost too dark and depressing for me, but at the same time, like, I can't stop thinking about the way it has ended. Like, that final episode, those final 2 episodes are really a lot. They're really a lot to stomach, and just watching, like, how these characters watch the world fall apart in front of them and stuff is really, is really sad to see, but at the same time, you can't really look away either. Yeah. The music is really gorgeous, too. I think the music is really gorgeous, too. Like, Miki's theme, or Ryo's theme, or, well, the opening, too. and the insert song that's, like, the original Devilman song. Thank you, Avu-chan. You did a great job. Yeah, but yeah, no. I feel like, for me, though, it touches upon kind of, like, a desire for me to create my own story that involves, like, I don't know, angels and, like, kind of morally compromised angelic, like, figures. I don't know, Satan is, like, a character I wish I had created, honestly. Ryo/Satan is such a concept of a character. Like, I love how he's, this very ethereal, beautiful, angelic, like, being, but also he's Satan. So technically speaking, he's a demon, he's a fallen angel, and, a lot of his behavior shows that, but at the same time, he has a lot of, he has love for, he has a lot of love for, the main character of, the main character of Devilman. I'm trying to remember his name! Ah! I'm terrible with this, yeah. God, I'm terrible with names. I'm really terrible with names. But yeah. No, I really love him as a character. I love Miki a lot as a character, too. I wish there was more done with Miki and Miko's relationship. I thought they had a lot of potential, but their relationship is kind of confined to, what happened in episode 9, whereas, like, Ryo and, it's Kazuki. I think it's Kazuki, Oh, Akira Fudo. Oops. Akira and Ryo's, relationship, which is kind of like a big centerpiece of the show. I do find it very compelling, though. Like, Akira and Ryo's kind of weird, sad relationship. Yeah. It's a lot. Devilman is a lot. I love Masaki Yuasa's work, though. Like, even though Devilman Crybaby is not my favorite of his works, I still really love his stuff a lot. And, Kaiba, I think, is my favorite work of his. Like, he's done a lot of great stuff, like Kick Heart and Lou Over the Wall and, The Night is Short, Walk On Girl, stuff like that. But my favorite work by him by far is Kaiba, because it's pretty self-contained. It's an original sci-fi story, but dystopian sci-fi story, but it doesn't feel like your average what you normally think of when you think of dystopian sci-fi. Like, normally speaking, when we talk about dystopian sci-fi, you normally think of something like from Blade Runner, something like that, where it's like a lot of like very big metropolises and stuff like that with neon and stuff, and a lot of East Asian inspired aesthetics and stuff. But Kaiba doesn't feel like that, partially because of the way its society works, but also because a lot of its buildings and a lot of its technology and stuff feel kind of weird and abstract and alien, and I really like that about it. I also love the character designs too, because like the main characters, Warp and Nero, they have quite Tezuka. Well, actually, all the characters have quite Tezuka-esque character designs, where they're they look really cute. They look really cute and simplistic. They wouldn't look out of place, say, in Astro Boy or any other Kodomo show. But their colors are like muted, and that's, I think, one of the first hints where you get, well, this isn't really a show for children, is it? And I think, like, by episode 1, if you don't really get the sense that this isn't really a show for children, you've got a storm coming, because Kaiba is definitely not a show aimed at children at all, despite its looks. But it's a really beautiful show, and I think, like, both halves of the show are really gorgeous for different reasons, and if you haven't seen it yet, I highly recommend it. It's one of my favorite shows of all time, and it definitely influences, like, the way I draw and the way I want to tell stories. If there's anything I really want to tell a story like Kaiba, it means a lot to me. It's one of my formative works, I think. Yeah. Yuasa has a really charming style. It's like everyone's made of paint. For me, I don't think it's so much like everyone's made of paint, and more like, everyone's like super cartoony. Everyone's like super cartoony, but not in the same way that like a Studio Trigger anime is cartoony. It's more like, I don't know, looking at a Sally Cruikshank cartoon and stuff like that, and seeing it kind of have a bit of a anime influence as well. Like, the thing I find very interesting about Yuasa's style is that he does a lot of like squash and stretch and kind of limited animation or exaggerated animation and stuff. And I think a lot of the work, if not all of the work he does in his studio Science Saru, is done in Flash. So it has a very different kind of feeling, a very different feel to like a lot of television anime, which is, I think, either done like digitally in a software like Red S Pro or something like that, or just done with traditional cells, like, Studio Trigger, as far as I'm aware, uses a lot of traditional cells. So yeah, it has a very different feeling. A lot of the Science Saru anime has a very different overall feeling to a lot of anime you'd normally see in the industry. So I think he's definitely made a name for himself as someone who creates very unique anime. Yeah. And I like that a lot. I feel like Kaiba also plays a lot of that abstraction as well, because like a lot of the time, the anime kind of has this Kaiba was made before Science Saru existed, so obviously it was done with traditional cells and stuff, but most of the time it's done kind of like fairly exaggerated cartoony forms. But then you get to like episode 5, where the main character enters a planet called Abipa, which is like this kind of weird paradise planet filled with like stylish bodies and all the food one could desire and stuff like that. And it's like done with all these abstract shapes and garish colors and super exaggerated and disorienting camera pans and camera angles and stuff. So it feels like, it really truly feels alien, like an alien world. Yeah. That's what I really like about Yuasa. He's not afraid to get like super experimental, and I really love that. I think that's also, speaking of getting experimental and stuff, I think that's also why I really like a lot of Studio Shaft's visual house style too. Even though like I'm not always a fan of the work they produce, I like especially with Akiyuki Shimbo's directing style and stuff. I think that's why I really like their style locked, because it just feels so different from every other anime you find on the market and stuff. And you know, when you're watching a Shaft show, you're like, oh yeah, I know I'm definitely watching a Shaft show, because it's so aesthetically pleasing, for lack of a better word. Like, you've got a strong sense of design and of composition in, like, a lot of their frames. Like, I don't know, you look at a conversation scene in Monogatari and you can tell that, like, every frame, even though, like, you know, there's a lot of limited animation stuff, every frame feels like it was intentionally staged in some way. And I think that adds to a lot of Studio Shaft's appeal, really. It just feels like they feel very I don't know, feel art housey, I guess, if that's the best word I could use to describe them. They feel kind of art housey, and I guess that's kind of why I like their visual style a lot. Also, because they're, like, willing to collaborate with kind of unusual animators and artists as well. Like, Gekidani Nukari is featured a lot in their work, and the combination of, like, their traditional cell-based animation with Gekidani Nukari's more, you know, Russian-inspired puppet traditional animation. Makes for some interesting visual spectacle, as does, like, a lot of, you know, Hajime Ueda's character art for shows such as Monogatari or Nisekoi or even Fate Extra Last Encore. yeah, it's very interesting overall. Yeah. If I see one more Shaft head tilt, I'm going on a neck-breaking spree. Well, you know what? I'm gonna try doing one right now. Hold on. I think I can get this right. Let me do a Shaft head tilt. Hold on. I'm trying. I'm trying real hard. Let me try the other side. I mean, I'm trying really hard. But my head's a bit big and my shoulders kind of get in the way, so this is the best I can give you. I'm sorry. I did my best, and that's what matters. I did my best. Sucks having a head this big. Ugh. Well, you know what they say, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take, so I figured, why not? Why not give it a try? Actually, while we're at it, why don't I try doing a backflip? I see it's all the rage with virtual YouTubers this day, so why don't I do, like, a backflip, huh? Hold on. Let's, no, this isn't right. Come on. Let's go around. Can I turn myself around? I mean, Can I make Hold on. Let me see. Can I do this? Well, I'm moving around the screen a lot, but not in the way I hoped. Alright. Well, now I'm very small. Oh shit, I moved a bit. Well, nope, it seems like I can't do a backflip. No backflip for you. I'm gonna have to go back up close again. Here we go. Well, I tried. Let's just say I'm not very flexible. I'm not a very flexible cactus. You know, if I tried, I may be double jointed in my arms, but that's all I've got going for me. If I try anything else, I would absolutely sprain a muscle or something like that. So it's better not to risk it, I think. Yeah. Actually, let me try being small for a bit. Because I feel like that would be fun. Ew, look at me, small. Look at me. I'm so small. I'm moving. You have to give me water to expand. Ugh, I'm a thirsty little cactus. You have to give me your water. You have to give me your water so I can survive, or else I'll die. I'll die if you don't give me your water, please. Okay, I'm jesting, but you know, in this form, I could easily just like you said, Gyro, like you said, I could easily just crawl up Thanos's, I could do an Ant-Man, is what I'm saying. I could crawl up Thanos's butthole and expand like boom! And he'd be dead in a second. That's cactus fairy powers, baby. Oh, really big. Look, I'm huge. I'm taking up the entire stream. Actually, no, I can get bigger. Hold on. I can make this work. We're gonna get bigger. We have to expand. Yeah! I'm huge! Look at me! I'm huge! Do I like the MCU? Actually, not really. To be honest, I actually find the MCU fairly boring, to be honest. I think the exception is like, I guess the Deadpool films, which I found kind of funny. But, most of the time I find the MCU kind of like copy-pastes of each other, and I don't find the characters like, super interesting. I feel like, you know, when it comes to big franchises and stuff, the big one for me is Fate. And I don't care for the MCU. Yeah. Like, I don't know, fairly recently I was watching, what was it? I think it was, Thor Ragnarok with a friend, because, you know, I heard from some of my more MCU-inclined friends that, oh, Thor Ragnarok is pretty good, it's directed by Taika Waititi, it's got some fun stuff, and, you know, I turned it on because I really like Taika Waititi's what we do in the shadows, and I was like, okay, maybe this could be pretty good too, since I like that film. And, you know, I came out of that film being like, well, I guess the special effects were good and stuff, but I can't really bring myself to care about this film too much. And I guess that just kind of extends to my feelings on the MCU in general. It's just like, I can't bring myself to care about the characters or setting quite like I can with Fate. It just kind of feels all the same, if you understand what I mean. Yeah, just kind of like a lot of high-tech special effects and stuff, but it's kind of the cinematic equivalent of, I don't know, going to, how do I put this? It's the cinematic equivalent of going to Applebee's, I guess. Yeah, kind of like that. You're like, you kind of know what you're expecting when you're getting into it. It's kind of comforting in a way, because you know what you're in for, you know what you're here for. There's that, but, you know, it's also kind of all over the place, and there's not really anything that makes it special or interesting, and you kind of wish it would kind of die out already. But that's not gonna happen, because Disney has it, so we're gonna get more MCU films sooner or later. Yeah. It's also because it's, like, super oversaturating the film market as well, or at least, like, the popular film market, and just, a lot of it, I just don't really care for it in general. I'm sorry. Yeah. Comparing it to other Taika Waititi films, it's more MCU than him in it. Yeah, I agree. I feel like that's my feelings on it too. It just, that's kind of how I felt about it too. It didn't really feel like it had a lot of his character and charm in it, like it did in What We Did in the Shadows or Jojo Rabbit. It just kind of felt like, you know, it's the MCU with a bit of a Taika Waititi flavor, I guess, and that's really all I could see. All I can see about it in the end. Yeah. Gigant Mado, best stream I've ever seen. I'm glad I could spice up the stream a little. Maybe I could spice up future talk streams in some way. Maybe incorporating weird accessories or gifts or something like that. Who knows? Who knows? It'll surely make the watching experience a lot more interesting, I think. MCU is the Applebee's of films. Mado Scorsese. Mado Scorsese? Really? I mean, I don't claim to be a snob when it comes to films. Like, don't get me wrong, I love a lot of like very self-indulgent stuff as well. Like, come on, one of the films that affected me a lot towards childhood was The Brave Little Toaster Goes to Mars. I still think about that film a lot. But, you know, you have to realize that I take a bunch of, like, kind of earnest, but kind of... I take a bunch of earnest but schlocky films over kind of the manufactured, very formulaic MCU films that are kind of coming out as of late. Or, you know, to be fair, Disney films as well. I feel like a lot of Disney features have been going this way as well. To be completely honest, like, you know... I don't know. Yeah. How do I put this? I'm gonna get into some Disney hot takes. I feel like, you know, a lot of the 2010s Disney's, particularly like late 2010s Disney works, don't kind of have the same charm that a lot of their earlier stuff did. Like, yeah, a lot of their earlier stuff, like 2000s Disney films or stuff like that, had very, very indicative flaws, but, you know, they were kind of unique in a way. They're very, you know, they were very unique in terms of setting and characters and stuff, and I liked that. I wanted to see more of that from Disney. Like, you know, Treasure Planet or Atlantis and stuff, they have very clear imperfections and stuff, but their settings are really cool and unique, and the character designs are very quote-unquote un-Disney, and I liked that a lot. I wanted to see more of that, but... you know, come 2010 onwards, we get, I don't know, the Disney live-action remakes, a lot of the sequels that are kind of mediocre compared to their first films and stuff. Wreck-It Ralph 2! Yeah. Yeah. But, you know, yeah, it's just not the same. It doesn't quite have... You know, I know there are a lot of cool and talented people working within Disney and stuff. Like, a lot of really cool and talented storytellers and artists. But, you know, you gotta blame the execs for taking a lot of very safe measures with how a lot of these films end up and stuff. And I'm kind of really annoyed. at that, really. They just feel like a lot of... we're playing it safe. We're just gonna cash into some of our popular films and stuff. Like, coming back to Wreck-It Ralph 2, actually, I have a lot of bones to pick with that film, especially because I really liked the first film a lot. I really liked the first film a lot, and how it used kind of a lot of its franchise shoutouts, a lot of its licensed shoutouts kind of sparingly, but also, like, in a way that made the setting, that contributed to the setting, whereas, you know, Ralph Breaks the Internet just kind of... it's a terrible sequel, really, because, you know, while I liked the overall message, it had, like, about how friends should allow friends to, like, you know, move on and, you know, should allow friends to kind of stop clinging to their best friends and stuff and allow them to make their own decisions and move on with their life, stuff like that, like Ralph does with Vanellope. It also just kind of came out entirely from nowhere because Ralph and Vanellope's relationship in the first film did not lead to any of this sort of development, and also just, like, the setting of, like, the internet and stuff didn't feel like anywhere as interesting as, like, any of the video game settings in the first film and stuff. I didn't really like it as much, even if there were, like, you know, an occasional funny internet joke or whatever. And all of the humor in Ralph's Break the Internet felt more appropriate to, like, I don't know, like a 2012 film rather than a, what was it, a 2019 film, I think? Was it 2019? I think it was, yeah. Yeah, no, it's not great. It's not great. It really wasn't great. And I also didn't really like how kind of clingy Ralph was too. It was kind of weird. I didn't super love that. It was just, and also the film criminally underutilized Fix-It Felix and Calhoun too. Like those two were like easily one of the big highlights of the first film. So like to see those characters be criminally underused in the second film was kind of that was a disgrace. Like, come on, you have such great characters, use them more. Come on. Yeah, that's just kind of my feelings on the film in general. Yeah. If she becomes a true snob, we should call her Madocast. I like your It's Always Sunny reference. I like that a lot. Very good. My name is Ongo Gablogian. I'm an art critic. Actually, that scene in general is really funny to me because I feel like it's like a lot of the very serious discussions we have within within my art school and stuff. It feels like a lot of the stuff I read on like so I'm taking this class right now called Intro to Contemporary Art. It's a great class. I really love it. And we get into a lot of like the theory about the art world or a lot of artistic ways of speaking and how the, fine art world and stuff like that affects people from all across the world, that sort of thing. But the way Ongo Gablogian speaks when he's like talking about the different works in the gallery or like, the air conditioner and stuff like that reminds me of a lot of the kind of art speak a lot of critics had and stuff. Yeah, it reminded me a lot of that, which I find really funny. Yeah. Look at her brands. Haha, Lego Movie did it better and with somehow more integrity. Yeah, I guess I agree. Yeah, I'll be honest, the Lego Movie isn't one of my favorite movies ever. I know a lot of people really love the Lego Movie, and that's perfectly valid. I think it's I think it has a lot of good points to it, but personally it never really clicked with me, or at least the first film never did. I actually like the second film even more than the first one. I don't know whether this is considered a unpopular opinion or not, but I like the second film a lot more because, I don't know, I really resonated a lot with the message of like sibling bonds and allowing siblings to kind of play with each other and enjoy each other's and enjoy hobbies together. I like that a lot. And also the theme song, This Song Is Gonna Get Stuck in Your Head, that one's really good too. Yeah. I think the use of 3D animation to make it look like it was completely animated out of Lego is really fun too. I think that's really cool. Yeah. I feel like my feelings on the first Lego Movie though are this. It had it should have been so much worse than it actually was, and it ended up being pretty good. Like, it's not my favorite film in the world, but I still really like that. But if we had to talk about the best Lego movie, though, it's easily the Lego Batman movie. That shit is fucking hilarious. I love it. Like, again, I'm not a fan of MCU or DC or anything like that, but I really love that film. It's really funny. I love how they just summon, like, villains from all these different, like, how, like, the Joker summons, like, villains from all these different, big franchises and stuff. Like, the Eye of Sauron, that's the one that got me. Like, they just randomly summon the Eye of Sauron from this, like, high fantasy Lord of the Rings. And they're like, yeah, fine, we're gonna put the Lego Eye of Sauron in our, Lego Batman film. What the hell? And I find that very funny. I love that a lot. Yeah. I think that was very good. Actually, speaking of films that should have been so much worse than they actually were, you want to hear a take from me? I mentioned this on my tier list time stream as well. I don't know if you I don't know, but I actually really liked Cars 3. I actually really liked Cars 3 a lot. I had no expectations going into that film because Cars 2, as everyone knows, is a trash fire, and Cars 1 is easily one of the weakest films in Pixar's discography, even though it had a few poignant themes. But Cars 3 was actually really good, and I think a large part of that is because Lasseter was not one of the directors! And you can really tell that Lasseter was not one of the directors in the third film, because it tonally feels very different. Like, part of the reason I was going into the film kind of with low expectations is because there was a big hullabaloo when the film was kind of, when the film was kind of going out pre-release and stuff, that, oh, it's a film that makes, that makes fun of, like, millennials and stuff, and kind of dunks on millennials and celebrates boomers and stuff like that. And I was like, going into the film, I was totally expecting that. I was totally expecting that sort of thing, but I came out with, a completely different message altogether, which I really liked. Like, the message of the film overall was more about, like, passing the baton on from the older generation to the younger generation, and, using, not giving up on your passion, but kind of getting your passion to adapt with you as you grow older and stuff, and you can't do what you used to do. And I think I really like that too. Like, I really like Carmen as a character. Like, she's a really good, I really like her dynamic with Lightning. I think they have a really good mentor-student dynamic and stuff, and how Lightning gives her an opportunity to chase her dreams and stuff after being told that she couldn't pursue them. I think that was very cool. I also really, really loved the conversation between a lot of the older cars and stuff, and their memories of, like, Doc back when he was back when he was like a racer, back when he was like a full-time racer and stuff. I love that kind of conversation they had as well, because it brought a lot more life and a lot more heart to the Cars universe, and it felt, it felt like, I don't know how to put this properly, but it felt like, people talking about their very lived experiences, which I really love. Yeah. It was a very good send-off, and, having been around, having kind of traveled around the regions that, Cars 3 talks about, like, a lot of the South and stuff like that, having traveled around that on road trips and stuff, it has a lot of that feeling. It has a lot of that feeling a lot, which I really like. Yeah. It feels very different from the other two films, and I like that because of that. Also, another thing that I really liked about the film as well, another thing I really like about the film is, what is it? Let me, oh yes, there is the Demolition Derby. The Demolition Derby. That was a great scene. I think, Miss Fritter as a side character is really cool. I think she's probably my favorite side character in the Cars franchise. Like, when you see a character and you're like, when you see a character and a character design in the way they're voiced and stuff, and you're like, they're probably, and you're kind of, how do I put this? Your gaydar goes off and you're like, I wonder if this is voiced by someone in the I wonder if someone in the community had someone in the LGBT community had some involvement in this. And then, after I watched the film, I looked up her voice actress, and sure enough, her voice actress is a very famous lesbian comedian. And I was like, I know, Dick was right, my gaydar was right. Yeah. But yeah, no, she was really great. I really like the fact that she was like, a southern like school teacher and stuff, but she was also like super punk and super like, super into demolition derbies and stuff. I find that really cool. So I really liked her as a side character. She was awesome. But yeah, no, if you're kind of hesitant on watching Cars 3, I definitely recommend seeing it, even if you didn't like the other two films. So, because the third film is still, like, I feel like the third film addresses, like, a lot of the themes of, like, performing in, like, a sport, or performing in, like, a profession that kind of, where people generally have to retire early and stuff. And, I feel like it addresses those themes better than the other two films do. Although I guess that's not a very high bar to clear. It still does so with a fair amount of finesse, I think. Yeah. Speaking of other good Pixar films, by the way, other good underrated ones. I talked about this before, but also Monsters University is another underrated fave for me, I think. Like, I know a lot of people are like, it's kind of underwhelming compared to the absolute riot that is Monsters, Inc. And, well, while I can't deny that Monsters, Inc. is a pretty hard film to beat, like, it's a fantastic film. It's pretty much near perfect. The Monsters University, for me personally, is still a really, for me personally, I think it's a film that I really treasure right now, because I'm going to university right now. I'm experiencing a lot of the experiences that the cast are feeling right now. Like, when you look at Monsters University, you can clearly tell it was based off of a lot of Northeastern universities. Like, I don't know, the red brick buildings, the fact that the statue outside of the Scare Major building, that one, has kind of like rubbed gold on it. So it's clearly an allusion to like the foot of John Harvard and stuff that a lot of Harvard students touch in order to wish themselves luck on like exams and stuff. Yeah. Or like jokes like about like rowing, like the school like just background jokes like the rowers and stuff. Yeah, or the quads, stuff like that. I don't know, it feels like a film that was made specifically for me in this time period, just because I'm going through college right now, and these are a lot of experiences that are, these are a lot of experiences that I'm, experiencing right now. Yeah. Let me think. But I think the biggest reason why I really love the film a lot is because of the ending and because of the ending message. Like, you have this whole arc thinking that, you have this whole arc setting up that Mike Wazowski, where you're led to believe that, oh, Mike Wazowski works really hard. He tries really hard to be a good scarer. He's a straight A student. He he studies really hard. He cares about what he does. He's very passionate about what he does. So naturally, this means the resolution of film is that he'll finally be able to achieve his goals and pursue his dreams as a scarer, right? But he doesn't. The interesting thing about the film is that, like, it kind of lays down a very difficult truth sometimes. It lays down a very difficult truth, the very difficult truth of, like, even if you do work hard, even if you do believe this is your life goal, this is your dream, something like that, sometimes your dream won't manifest in the way you think it. Sometimes you might not be able to pursue your dream in the way you think you do, and that's okay. And the resolution is that, like, Mike ends up realizing there's this whole realization where he realizes he's not scary, he's not frightening, he's not innately frightening, but because of his good application of scare theory, he's a really good assistant for the actually scary scary Sully. Yeah, that's why they become such good partners, because Mike is very much, the brains behind the operations and stuff. He knows so much about scare theory, and he uses that to help Sully perform in the best way he can. Actually, Sully is a really interesting character in that film, too, because he, I think, also hits hard for me, too, because I think he touches upon a lot of the expectations that a lot of people from, like, legacy families or a lot of, like, well-renowned families have when they are accepted into these, like, prestigious institutions and stuff. Like, all of these expectations that they have to perform as well as their predecessors, as their parents, as their grandparents, etc. And when they don't, they feel like they're kind of, they're kind of a failure, they're kind of a laughingstock on their family name, that sort of thing. And, I mean, not to get into it, not to get into super personal stuff, but, as someone who is also kind of, who also dealt with this stuff, like, on a very personal basis, I related to a lot of Sully's issues as well. Not necessarily with the fact that, he lazed off a lot and stuff, but more with the pressure he faced from, coming from a family filled with, academic from a family filled with high achievers and stuff, and sometimes not feeling like I, fit in that regard. Yeah. Especially because a lot of my family members are, like, going into, business and, stuff like that, or, even my twin, she's going into, like, sciences and stuff like that. And I think out of all my family members, I think I'm the only one who's going into a, arts-based career, and I'm kind of just jumping into the great unknown here. And don't get me wrong, like, my family has been very supportive of, me and my career and what I do and stuff, but I do kind of sometimes see those twinges of worry sometimes, like, you know, what are you gonna, like, I hope you can make a living off of this, or, like, you know, sometimes you need a backup plan, because, you know, a lot of people can't sustain themselves on their artwork and stuff alone, and, you know, while I hate to admit it, they aren't incorrect. They aren't incorrect, so I have to, you know, a big thing that I'm worried about right now is, you know, what's gonna be the job I take to pay the bills, to, you know, help sustain myself in order for me to, you know, be able to continue doing what I love. That's a very real thing I have to consider right now. And yeah, no, that's kind of, it's kind of that makes me a little bit worried about, you know, the future with me and my intended art career and stuff. I just wonder if I'm gonna be able to make a stable living, if I'm gonna continue to be able to live as comfortably as I have when I, you know, go out into the great world. That sort of thing. Yeah. Just a lot to think about, really. Yeah. But to conclude with Monsters University and stuff, I did like the ending anyways, where they kind of, you know, managed to get into their desired career, their desired, both Mike and Sally managed to get into Monsters, Inc. anyways, because they managed to, you know, work their way up through a different career. They, like, started by dropping out of college, by being expelled from college, but, you know, even though they didn't take the college route, they still managed to find a lot of success, and I think that's a very important message for a lot of people to hear. Sometimes college really isn't right for everyone, and I think, you know, for that movie to go out and just outright say, yeah, college isn't always the way for you to find success and work and stuff like that, is a pretty brave stance to take, even more so if you consider that, you know, Mike's entire story could be an allegory for, you know, disability and stuff. The fact that, you know, even though he tries really hard and he's clearly, you know, a very good student, sometimes, you know, there are innate characteristics that he has that just prevents him from, you know, being able to access certain resources at that time. But he's still able to find success in the end, and I think that's really important. Yeah. So I think that's why even though the film isn't as good as, you know, the original Monsters, Inc., I still think that's why I personally hold it in very high esteem, just because it speaks a lot to me personally at this time. Yeah. Yeah. I hope we all find where we belong. So do I. So do I. I hope we can all, you know, get to where we belong, and we all can just have, you know, I hope we can all just do what we really want to do in life, and we can just be kind to other people, and, you know, just have a nice place to live in. Yeah, just all live comfortably, all get along. Yeah. And all just find ourselves in the places we want to be in the future. That's what I really want to see. Yeah. Skate did that too, in a way. I like stories that have this honor and second best matches, especially when it promotes living happy and healthy over being crushed by ambitions. I've actually been meaning to watch Skate the Infinity. That, you know, I've been seeing a lot of praise for it as of late, just because of, like, its very fun tone and stuff, and just, you know, how it's kind of ridiculous, but in a good way. I might want to try it out. I'm not normally one who, like, gets into sports anime or anime with largely male casts and stuff, but, you know, it might be up my alley. I do like a good level of ridiculousness in my anime and stuff, so I might check it out. Yeah. So yeah, I guess that's really all I have to say right now. All I have to think about or say right now. Otherwise, my brain's kind of no thoughts, head's empty right now. That's really all I have to talk about or say. Yeah, but I really enjoyed talking with all of you. This is a great conversation, and actually, before we leave off tonight, how about one more big Mado? Oh yeah! Oh yeah! Oh yeah! I'm big! I'm big! I'm big! Wah! I'm big! fun to be big. Actually, one thing I really like about, like, increasing my size here, about making myself bigger, is that I can see, like, all my fine-tuned VTuber movements, and it makes me really, I don't know, I like wiggling this much. It makes me happy. Boing, 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 boing. Yeah. Let me get back to normal size, alright? Yeah. Hold on. Not every artist can become rich and famous, but I'm almost certain anyone who works hard can at least make a decent living off of it. You'll do alright, Mado. Thank you. That's very sweet of you, Gyra. Thank you so much. I hope I can, make a decent... You know, in an ideal world, I would... I don't know, this is kind of a, personal thing, but... I guess I do want to get my name out there. I do want to be known by people. I do want to have my work known and stuff. I guess kind of stems from a fear of being forgotten, a fear of, you know, a fear of being outmoded or left or forgotten or stuff like that, or kind of left or stuff. I don't want to be forgotten. I kind of will leave something in the world, but, with my work, with my stories and stuff like that, I do want people to hear what I have to say with my storylines and characters and games and whatnot. I hope that can be the case. But, you know, at the very least, if that can't happen, at the very least, I do just want to continue living just comfortably off of my work and stuff. And for, you know, whoever can come by my work to just come out of it a little happier and a little more fulfilled in their life. I hope that can be the case. Yeah. I guess that's what I really want to be. Someone who's, you know, known and stuff. Someone who's well known, but well known for, like, you know, bringing smiles or bringing, you know, beauty to the world, and, you know, in a world that's filled with a lot of sadness and suffering. I hope I can just bring that along and, you know, bring a lot of, you know, good cheer to people who need it most. Yeah. That's what I'm hoping a lot with, my work. Yeah. Yeah. Actually, I'm a little bit big. Let me get myself a little bit smaller. Hold on. Yoink. Noble goal. Yeah. I think it is, you know, I hope that I'm keeping to that goal right now. I hope I'm just doing my best here. Like, I mean, I'm not expecting myself to do things perfectly. I think it's inevitable that I might slip up with something or something else and stuff, and, you know, cause something. I just think it's inevitable, because, you know, none of us are perfect, but, you know, I hope at the very least that my intent is good, that, you know, I intend to bring good things, and I intend to, you know, just be a positive and gentle presence for people. Yeah. So, with all that said, yeah, I guess I really am, done for this evening. Now I really am, no thoughts, heads empty. So, you know, hopefully I'll see all of you tomorrow for a drawing stream. As I said, maybe at the beginning of the stream and stuff, I'm gonna be, finishing off, or at least, coloring that piece from that, winner's piece I did from the art raffle I announced a couple of weeks ago, the 10K art raffle and stuff. Yeah. So, you know, I hope you like what you see. Yeah, it's gonna be a little bit different from previous art streams where, you know, I normally draw fan art and stuff, but here I'm gonna be drawing someone else's original character. So it'll be very interesting to see where that will go. Yeah. And I hope you enjoyed as much as I do when the time comes. So with that said, I hope you have a very good evening. Thank you, and Mado is now signing off. Bye-bye!